Welcome to Wayward Writers. I'm senior literary agent and author Heather Cashman.
I'm author and writing coach Stephanie Bierce.
And I'm author and writing coach Nikki Jacobsmeyer.
Our mission is to nurture and enrich established writers throughout their publishing journeys.
We welcome all genres, age groups, and publishing paths through video podcasts, online webinars, in-person retreats, and more.
We're here to help you conquer your path.
We are here today with Kathleen Sweeney, who is the COO of BookBrush, which is a book marketing company, and so much more. We're going to talk about that, but welcome today, Kathleen.
Excited to be here, for sure.
Yes, welcome.
Thank you. Nikki, can you tell us a little bit more about Kathleen?
Yes, absolutely. So Kathleen Sweeney is the Chief Operating Officer at BookBrush. She has presented to over 300 author groups and thoroughly enjoys working with authors. She lives in Central Illinois with her husband, 3 active boys, and the 2 most handsome cats on the planet. Her hobbies include eating tacos and turning socks right side out. She brings over 20 years of client service experience, business assurance, strategy, and problem solving to the day-to-day operations and the future vision of BookBrush. Welcome, Kathleen. We're so thrilled to have you with us.
I am excited to be here and talk about all things books marketing, and whatever else rabbit holes we go down today.
Yes, there's always some gold nuggets in the rabbit holes for sure. So for those people that aren't familiar, and I wasn't before we got the opportunity to talk with you, will you kind of share what BookBrush is?
Oh yeah, 100%. So BookBrush is an online platform that we created specifically for authors to be able to create your own book marketing graphics, and it just grew from there. So we got started in the author space in 2018, and that was primarily just the do-it-yourself platform. And that hit 100,000 users last year, which was super cool.
Congratulations.
And then, yeah, thank you.
Celebrate. Yeah, no, absolutely celebrate. We like celebrating here.
Yeah, I'll celebrate anything. It's Friday, so we can celebrate that. But then we've also added a lot of service options. So the do-it-yourself stuff, software, platform, that's not going anywhere. But now we do other custom things, so you can hire us to do some of the things you might not want to tackle. Book trailer, Amazon A+ content, and we branch that all the way to we offer full service social media where we'll just take the wheel and create and post and do all that for you too. So really, wherever you're at in that writing journey, we probably have something for you.
That's amazing.
So as I went on brush.com, I was actually really surprised to find everything that you could get there and also get there for free. So when authors go on to bookbrush.com, what can they expect to find there?
So I love that you mentioned the free plan, because that is a great place to start. So you can get on there and just say, okay, what is even happening here? So you can create 15 images for free, and those can be like the horizontal for Facebook, square for Instagram, just the single 3D book cover, whatever you need. When you're talking about the book template, over 300 different 3D versions for your book. So e-readers that face every which way, phones to put your book cover in, physical books, fun things like you can put your book in Polaroid picture, cool things like that. So try all those things out. You have the ability to play with all the tools and try things and save projects. It doesn't actually count one of your free credits till you download, so you could play around quite a while. But it's a lot of the marketing graphics that people know that they probably want and need on social media, but they're not sure where to start. So we want to make that part easy. You can do things from scratch, but there are a lot of templates that would be like, oh, I need something for Instagram. Great, I'll go right there. Narrow it down to launch party. Oh, good. I'll just put those things in there. Lots of cover reveals, things like that. So we want to make the marketing side easier for folks, so we have a lot of tools for that.
That's great. Yeah. Well, and Kathleen, as you know, all our listeners and our community is a vast array of different genres and categories and things like that. And we've got indie publishers and traditionally and hybrid. So I want to confirm, this is no matter how you publish, right? You have to do marketing yourself. So correct me if I'm wrong. This is for everyone. It doesn't matter how you're publishing, correct?
Exactly. And I think a lot of people think, oh, I'll get a big deal and they'll take care of everything. Turns out that's not how it works. So no matter which way you publish, you're probably still responsible for a lot of your own marketing. And that's where you can hop in on BookBrush. We talked about the free plan a little bit. On the paid plans, you have unlimited downloads. So if you want to make all kinds of graphics and flood social media and get that out there, we want to make that part easy.
That's great. So I know later we're going to dive in more about social media platforms, but if we can start with Amazon, because most people are familiar with that. And what are some ways authors can make their Amazon page stand out?
I'll back it up. I think it was in the summer of 2019, unless it was 2021. So it was right either before or after COVID, that gray
Sure,
area.
we all lost time.
Yeah. So Amazon gave access to people who have, if you have access to your own KDP dashboard on Amazon, you can put images in that from the publisher section. So before that, it was just from the publisher. And if you've scrolled through certain books and things, when you go down there, the most popular are those 3 stacked images that you see. And you might like, oh, I've seen those. So it's in the from the publisher section on your book page. And those 3 images are a really great way to call out things visually. So you can have like a blurb, some tropes, things like that might be buried in the blurb, and put those in there. So Amazon A+ content is free to add to your Amazon page if you have access. It's a little bit trickier for people that when they're thinking of doing it on their own, because you need those 3 stacked modules and you want them to line up and look nice. So that's why, although you can do it yourself, we create a lot of those for people, because they're like, I want them to look stellar and I don't want to learn. Sure. So we'll just hire you to do it. But I would recommend it because right now it can help you stand out and help more people stay on your page. And over time, as more and more people are doing it, then it'll help you fit in. So it's really win-win.
Well, and I think so much of book buying is the cover, if they like the cover, but it's also the images, right? So a lot of people, ironically, read only part of the blurb when they're going to read the whole book. And so going down to those images, I always scroll down too. And seeing those images, it does really make that page pop.
Oh, it totally does.
Cool.
And then another nice little tip is if you're writing in a series, in that 3rd module, you can put all the books in the series. That helps so visually folks can see the order in which to read them. And also it tells them, oh, this book's part of a series. So without you coming out and saying, oh, there are more books. This is also fine if you have standalones that are in the same genre, because if they found one they liked of yours, that's actually a blessing for them to find out, oh, look, you have more, and they might want to buy them.
Yes.
So you can have those in that module. And so you're visually just giving them the cue. Look at these other books that I have.
Wow. Sorry. I'm doing a lot of pausing because I'm just digesting all this information. And it's so lovely that I think a lot of people think they are on their own with things. And it's a huge investment of time. And sometimes it's great to have someone help you just get into the marketing know and to take that over that has that experience. So that's great. What are some tips and tricks that people can do to stand out in the market in the general sense?
I would say being as active as you can on social media, which means posting quite a bit and then interacting with your followers. So I feel like everybody's a detective these days. And so if they are like, oh, I want to go find this book by Heather Cashman, they're going to look it up, and they go look you up, and everybody is a detective these days. So if they hear about books, did you hear about Nikki Jacobs Meyer? And then they go look you up. If they don't find a lot of content, they might just move on to another author that someone recommended. But if they find a gold mine of look at all this content, and then they're suddenly scrolling more through your Facebook page or scrolling more through your Instagram, that can really help. It's like social proof. She's out here. She's an author. There's books. People are reading them. So if you have the time, or whether that's something you hire out, but if you can put that presence out on social media, I think that's what the social proof side of things is. So when people go to look you up, they find a lot of great stuff out there.
And when you say interact, Kathleen, you don't mean just liking someone's comment. right?
That's a start. If someone takes the time to comment on your page and, then it's like, oh, they liked my comment. A step further is to say thank you or something interesting back. You can comment as your author page on other authors' pages and they might do the same thing. So I love the authors. A lot of them we're all in this together. So if there's other folks in your genre and you're commenting back and they're your author friends, that's kind of a cool option. And then we can talk a little about hashtags here too. So make sure you're using a lot of intentional hashtags so that you're as discoverable as possible when you're putting the images out there.
So if you need ideas for hashtags that, would improve your reach, how would you recommend doing that?
So one of my favorite suggestions for folks is to look up really popular, great best-selling authors in your genre and see what hashtags they're using. Like, we don't need to reinvent the wheel here. If this is going great for them, that's fine. But another kind of rule of thumb is just to think you want book-related ones and then some genre-related ones. So when I say book-related, that could just be weekend read, bestseller, must read. So those are for any kind of genre. And then you can have some of the genre specific, like spicy romance book. And then don't forget to mix it up and have novel and things like that, because people have their certain hashtags they look for. So if they are following sweet, clean Christian romance novel versus book, use one and then the other. So try to mix those things up. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, I guess. Like you would probably want to work on hashtagging your name so that shows up anytime that people look for you, your author name. But then as you go through, rotate through other different hashtags that would draw people in. Not ones that don't have anything to do with you, but make sure you're using a variety of hashtags in there.
But that's interesting that you said like book versus novel. I love how you said do a variety and use both, because we all have certain words that we use that are hot buttons. So
we'll take writer versus author.
Right.
They're kind of the same. They're kind of 100% different. But, you'll have romance writer, romance author. And a lot of people would just think, oh, I like romance books, and I'll look up one or the other. And they're not thinking of the other one. So try both.
Right.
And do you recommend with social media posting things that, like a variety of whatever you're comfortable sharing personally in the public eye, as well as book related and other people's, like how variety wise of posting, what do you recommend?
There's really no one recipe for success. One person could go viral doing one thing. On TikTok in particular, being yourself and putting yourself out there can work really well because you're doing those videos and you're in the video. But even if you're just talking about the graphics that you would maybe post on Facebook and Instagram, you don't want it to be a call to action, buy my book, sales graphic every day. Like, oh, buy my book tomorrow, buy my book. So that can get a little monotonous and people aren't as excited to follow you. But let's say you have cats in your book or recipes or something that will appeal to the people who are reading your books. You can include things like that, like quotes about reading. I had one lady whose book featured barn quilts, which is kind of nichey. There were the painted quilts on the barn. And so she had quilts in the background once a week with a quote about reading. So people who were following her enjoyed that. They liked that. Another thing you can try are engagement posts. So ask a question. Do you prefer to read early in the morning or late at night? And so when you ask a question, that encourages people to answer the question. How many times can they say, ooh, pretty cover, when you post a nice picture? But if you've asked a question that begs for an answer, you might get more comments. Algorithms love that. Look at you, you're popular. So try the questions. In the hashtag realm, you could even put in hashtag question of the day. So maybe somebody who's not super bookish is like, well, I want to answer this because people like to put their 2 cents in and see where you get.
Great.
So that's a lot. I know.
No, those are great examples because content, I mean, that's, okay, what am I going to post that's, people would even care, that isn't go buy my book.
That is me. That's me. Like tons of stuff. I'm like, look at this. Like the other day we saw an albino fly while we were hiking. I would have posted that, but then I'm like, does anyone really care about this?
I would love to see. I don't know what an albino fly looks like, so please do.
Still have it?
Please do. So, and also like my personal life, like I don't think anybody cares about my personal life or maybe even about me. Like I guess that's the thing is with social media, I feel like it's hard to know where that boundary is of, because I'll be honest, like there are people in my feed and I'm like, you are sharing too much. Like
Well, yeah,
I
there's the
didn't need to
personal
witness
side of
that.
things for sure, but you could still be an entertaining, engaging person without oversharing. So you want to balance it, and maybe, although we like spontaneity, you could also say, okay, I'm going to have Tuesdays with Tamra if your name's Tamra, and that's the day that people ask you questions, or you
Interesting.
earmark something in your mind, like on Fridays I'm going to put something. Sometimes we do like a font pairing Friday on our
Fun.
stuff. That's probably not for you, but just like pick a thing, like I'm gonna be the person who posts some recipe or a picture of
Yeah.
this on Thursdays, and so your what do I want to post today is taken care of because it's on the plan, and then you're more likely maybe to post because you're not dreading it, so that will take care of that part too. But you can have a little bit of a game plan. You can still have the sales graphics, you still
Sure.
want to feature your book, but it can be grab a review from Amazon and then put your book in there with a nice background, and so it tells about the book without saying buy my book. So use those better reviews, maybe not a low review, but pick and
Right.
choose.
Right. Okay, so I want to back up a little bit because I think that not everyone loves Amazon. So, do you have suggestions for other social media accounts and how to stand out in all the noise? Maybe it's just what we've been talking about here.
Well,
But
let's talk about Amazon too for a second. So, if you're posting on like Facebook and Instagram, you probably, if your book is for sale on Amazon, you could put the Amazon logo, but you don't want to put the link to Amazon in the caption area for the most part because Facebook doesn't want you to leave Facebook. So if you put a link that tells people to leave Facebook, then the algorithms can push your post down and it might not perform as well. So
Oh.
it seems like a natural thing, like, oh, I better put this link out there. People will find it. Another workaround sometimes is you can put a QR code on your graphic so people know there's a way to get to the information, but it's not impactful in the algorithms because it's like hidden on your graphic.
that
So
is
Wait, that
brilliant.
is super fascinating. Hold on. Can we take a second?
totally.
Okay, so you're saying everyone, you don't have to rewind. Kathleen, you are saying do not put a link in your post.
Okay, so I'm not saying never
Okay.
because sometimes it makes sense and people want to get to it. But if every single time you post, you're putting the link to Amazon, we're finding those typically don't seem to perform as well because what the Facebook back of the house things say is they don't want you to leave. So if you're every time posting something that sends people to leave there, your post might not do as well. Now, if you have 3 bajillion followers, post whatever you want. Probably going to work out fine. But if you've got a smaller group, try to be mindful and not post that link to Amazon every single time.
It's so creepy
Yes.
that it does that. Like honestly, that it just wants you to like suck you in and never let you
And
leave. But also,
it doesn't matter if it's Amazon or an indie bookstore. You're saying anywhere that you're leaving
Right,
Facebook.
an external link because then that person, so they can tell Amazon or
Interesting.
Facebook can tell there's a link to somewhere else externally
Yes.
leaving Facebook. So what we
Yeah.
understand and the research we've looked at says that might not do as well because it's leaving there. So we've tried the QR code and that seems okay. Now I'm going to contradict myself there for a second because to scan a QR code, it's hard to scan it with
Yes.
your phone when you're on your phone. So I
Right.
wouldn't do that every
Right.
time, but I know a lot of people look at social media on a computer. I'm at my computer all day
Yeah.
long. I might just hop over to Facebook. So it can work. Or they could scan it with someone else's phone when people really want information. They'll know it's
So
there.
again, a mixture. Again, a
Mix it
mixture
up.
of
Yes.
So
yeah.
interesting. Okay.
And
I'm
we can
learning so much.
talk about QR codes for a
Yeah,
second
can we
too. Do you
talk
guys
about them?
do? Yeah.
How do you
Do you
make
do those much?
them? Like, can you share that with people, please?
Yeah, and let me just scoot back. So QR code stands for quick response. It's that little square digital thing that we all know about, courtesy of COVID, because we came back out. We didn't want to touch stuff. So it was like, okay, how could we get people to places? Now, they existed before, but I think that's a little bit of their mainstream popularity.
Right.
So what that does, it's that digital box. You scan it with your phone, and it takes you to a landing page, which is a URL. And then that's where people get their information. So maybe you've been to a restaurant and you scan and you get the menu. This is great because their QR code always takes you to their menu page. On the backside, they can update their specials of the day. So same thing, if you have a QR code that goes to your website, right now you might have 2 books, but later when you have 5, they're still on you're updating your website, the QR code's still evergreen. So if you put it on your business card or a bookmark or in the back of book 1, that's fine because it's your website and you'll keep updating it and that will work over and over. So make sure that it's to a website that you can update, not to Amazon. I would do it to your own website.
Right.
And in BookBrush, you can create a QR code. On our paid plan, we have a QR code generator. So then you can put it on all kinds of things.
And you think a QR code is more beneficial on a business card to your author website as opposed to the website? Because then people are having to type that in as opposed to just...
Exactly.
Well, that's good to
Well,
know because I'm going to be putting an order in soon. Thank you, Kathleen, for saving me 500,
I mean, if your website is real easy, but and if you're going to put the website in, please don't bother with the HTTP and the www. Everybody knows that. So just put your bookbrush.com or Nikki Jacobs Meyer. Even that, people are like, how did you spell?
See,
Nikki?
that's the thing about, yes, it's a long name. It's, and sometimes if people are like, good heavens, it's like back when we were doing the bubbles at school, at some point you're like, forget it, so.
And also NIKKI or NICKI.
There's a lot of, so you just take the guesswork out of it. I love that. I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead.
I would just,
Heather, we have some
questions. Yes, my QR code tip is, other than it's nice sometimes on those graphics for mixing it up, it's the litmus test is it paper? So can someone scan it with their phone because it's on something else? So it's super good for business cards, bookmarks, back of book. Yeah. If you're making a banner that you're going to put up at an author event, let's say your table's so swamped they can't get to you. Best case scenario, they can come over and scan your QR code and they've got your information. Right. So I feel like I talked on both sides. Like I said, put it on your social media graphics. And I do think that's a nice solution, just not every time. But they have a really nice use on paper items. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There you go. So there's my 2 cents.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it is brilliant. That's the exact word. So let's talk about, we've been talking about promotion, and if we can switch to branding, which is part of promotion but different. Can you talk on that and how important it is to brand yourself as an author, please?
Yes. So you are your author brand, and everything you do is about that brand. We talk about making sure you have a branded font. So if you have a certain font or 2 fonts that you use on your book cover, it's a super good idea to use that same font in your graphics. So like when you see something, we'll just use the Disney font, for example. Right there, that's the Disney thing, even if it doesn't say Disney, or the Harry Potter font. Not that you're going to get quite to Harry Potter or Disney status right away, but have that font. So, and I'll take a step back on fonts too. Fonts really give off a genre vibe. So want to make sure when you're researching and picking your font that it gives off the romance vibe if you're writing romance books, or thriller vibe for thriller books. Fonts give that feeling. And then when it's on your book cover and you're using it in your graphics and maybe in your newsletter header and all those places, it pulls it together for you. So people get that right vibes. If your graphic is not necessarily a sales graphic, but it's about you, then they're like, oh, this must be a thriller. You can get that feeling. When someone scrolls your Facebook or your Instagram, do they see pink and purple flowers, or do they see crime scene tape? They can get that vibe when they're looking without you putting it in every single graphic.
I love crime scene tape.
Some blood splatters, or not, whichever.
But it is true. It's fascinating how it's just another visual indicator, and it feels comfortable, right? You're in the right place, as opposed to like, whoa, what did I stumble onto?
If you want to read sci-fi or fantasy and you come to this page and there's a lot of like feel-good mystery magic, or you've got beaches and women's fiction, you'll know this is my jam or this is not my jam, and you're appealing to the right people because your things speak to that. So then the colors and your branding and things like that, try to keep everything feeling cohesive when you put things out. So I've even told people, dress in your brand colors when you're doing an event. So if your colors are, like I have a BookBrush shirt that's kind of maybe ugly, but it's like pink and purple and has these swirls, and I'm like, this is my BookBrush colored shirt. So if I don't have a logo shirt for that day, I might dress in BookBrush colors at the table at an event. You can do that for yourself too.
So branding is something BookBrush offers as a service. Do they?
Not particularly as a service, but on our do it yourself
Hmm.
platform, and your timing is impeccable
Oh,
because this is a fairly new feature,
good.
but we just added a brand kit so that you can put your colors in your branded font. And so every time you start a graphic, that font will be the font that it defaults to so that you are a little time
Oh my
saver.
gosh, that is so nice.
Yeah, and then the colors, when you pick the color picker, your branded colors will be the first ones. It's not to say you can't go get the other
Sure.
colors, but it's just like, okay, I'm always going to want Montserrat font in this
Hmm.
purpley color and just start there and then change when you
Hmm.
need to. So, as much as you can stay on brand, I
Mm.
think that just helps drive things home.
So do people, as far as researching, if they're like, okay, I want to pick a font for me, just go out and see what other authors are doing to get a vibe of what kind of colors or font you want?
You can, and I'll send you these after we're done and we can include them somewhere. We have 2 blog posts on font pairings that are by genre. So we have suggestions for like thriller font, historical font, and each one gives you 2 that go together. So you want a larger one and the
Sure.
one to go underneath. And so some suggestions. If you don't already have that, that can help. You know, the sci fi font looks a lot different. And if you saw it, you'd know it
Sure.
versus like a thriller
Yeah,
font. And then you
I
can
do.
all,
I'm looking through in my brain all of my clients and the different fonts that are on their books, and it is very, very specific. Like it's just a whole different feel.
it totally is. Or children's font was more
Hmm.
whimsical and different things like that. And then we also have some holiday font pairings, so you could do Christmas themed graphics because people buy books as gifts. Hello,
Right.
so if you put those in there and have holiday fonts, that can be kind of fun too.
Very fun.
Nice. Okay, so how much of that content, we kind of talked about this a little bit before, but let's say you're putting out content. What percentage of that content should be you promoting your book, and how much of it should be other stuff mixed in?
I think you might each person have to find your sweet spot, but maybe start like a 50-50 mix to start with. If you come out of the gates posting a glamour shot of your book every single day, I feel like while the images are attractive, they're not giving people as much. You know, when you ask some questions or put a book review, other things we talk about are like character quotes, so something that someone in your book said, or like
Oh, that's such a good idea.
character cards. So people are reading the book, but they might not know the bio of somebody. So you could have their picture in that, and that could be a once a week or once a month thing for get to know the bad guy or whatever that's in your book, and put those out there so people get more excited. Those
Oh,
kind
I'm
of things.
starting to think about like questions about villains or
Yes.
like questions
Or like
about like you're
what they would wear. Like this is my
Mm-hmm.
character would
yeah,
wear this, or yeah, I mean, that stuff's
that would
fun.
be
Yeah,
fun. That's
that's
fun,
super
Hat
fun.
A or
yeah.
hat B, and then maybe you've
Yes.
got those fun feathered flowered hats, but you've got 2 of them. Like, are you this one or are you this
Right,
one?
Okay, so I
Are
have a
you gonna
question.
right.
When you ask an
sure?
open question, okay, so I've tried to do this, and then it's like sometimes it's like wah wah wah, right? And so there's
Nobody
it's like
answers.
your, mom answers or something like that. So just keep going, or like just stay
Well,
consistent, or I mean, what?
you could try some other things for followers. So the hashtags are a lot of the discoverability. So
Okay.
by trying different hashtags, and then here, this is another secret sauce tip. We do this, it's not that you can't, but let's say your hashtags help you find some organic followers, meaning that they found you because you put thriller
Hmm.
books or something even more specific, like a nichier hashtag, and they liked your post. They just happen to find it because of the hashtag. So you can go in periodically and invite the people to follow you that just liked a post. So as the admin of the page, you can look at all the people who liked it, and then there's an invite button.
Oh,
So if your mom already follows you, she'll already say, but you can invite these folks. They've already said, hey, I liked one piece of your content. Invite them to find out more about you. So then, if you're able to grow your following, then you can start back with your open ended questions or your A or B and see if you get more answers that way. It's also not a terrible idea to try those question of the day hashtags because maybe you would get some people who just like to always put their opinion in on wherever, but that could help the algorithms
okay.
and more people see it.
And is this inviting with multiple, a lot of platforms have that, or is this one specific?
I see it on Facebook for the
Facebook.
most
Okay.
part. So when you go down and if you look at your page and if someone liked it and they don't already follow you, then you could invite them to follow. That's on a page. So there's a difference between, and you probably know this, person and page. So if you can have friends, that's a person. An author page is likes and follows. There aren't friends, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you would want to make sure you have an author page.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay.
But then you can share it on your person page.
Gotcha.
Is it better to have an author page or to have a page for every book that you have, or both? Do you have both?
Oh, my thought would be an author page, because then they already are following you. They find out more books you have. If you have a page for a book, then that's that, and they read it. And then you'd have to get them
Okay, got it.
interested in your next one. So
Okay.
my recommendation, nobody's ever asked me that question before, so I'm off the cuff, but I do think that the author page is good, because if you have 4 or 5 books, then you can rotate the featuring, and if they found you from one, then they'll be interested in the rest of them, and you may get more sales, which is what we're here for. You want to sell more books.
So what if someone isn't, they don't like social media, but they know it's necessary? Can they do just one instead of having a personal and an author page where they're having to do both? Can they just be them and just do everything there, or does that not helpful?
You could, but then you have the people, like, they might try to friend you and stuff. So a personal page is set up differently than a business page. So when you're setting up your author page, it's a business page, and then just people like and follow you,
Got it.
if that makes
No,
sense.
it does. It totally does. Okay. Okay, so we talked a little bit about hashtags, which is wonderful to know. Can you have too many or too few?
Oh, my hashtags are a moving target. So, like on Instagram, I think the max is 30, but that's probably too many and it could look spammy.
Okay.
TikTok, it seems like, or maybe in YouTube, maybe the more the merrier. I think on Instagram and Facebook, a lot of times 5 to 7 feels like the right fit.
Okay.
But you could always load it up. What you don't want is that whole like paragraph looking thing of hashtags.
Yeah.
That feels like too many. But you could
It does
also
feel spammy.
yeah. So you want to you can rotate which ones they are in there and try it that way, and then see what other people are doing. Because sometimes I think, oh, right now it's trendy. At one point it was like, do as many as you can,
Right.
and then it was like, no, that's too many. So I wouldn't say there's a hard and fast rule forevermore. Do 5 to 7, but right now I feel like 5 to 7 on Facebook and Instagram feels like a pretty good fit, and rotating what those 5 to 7 might be.
So, is there a strategy to posting things by day? Because I think you mentioned the other time, like Tamara Tuesday or something like that.
Oh, I just said that because it sounds fun.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh.
Throwback Thursday. That's one of my
yeah,
faves.
yeah. I mean, I'm more of a Taco Tuesday
Yes.
kind of girl, but
Stop making me hungry, Kathleen. It's about lunchtime.
I know exactly at Central Time. So I don't know that there is one set thing. I will say that the time of day can be helpful. Like, we look behind the scenes on our YouTube channel, and you can look at the analytics. And sometimes I'm like, what in the world? 6 a.m. Friday is our most popular time. Like,
Really?
that's not true.
Oh.
Like, there have been times
Oh, okay.
I'm
I
like,
was like,
really?
whoa.
but
I
there have been odd
never
times
thought
that you're like, huh. Now, we use a scheduling platform for some of our things that's called Sendable. And after you've been using it for a while, it'll do predictive time that it estimates would be the best time. So instead of us saying, I think we're going to go for 11, you default it and it's like, oh, it's going to post at 9:45 because it can tell that's been a popular time.
Wow.
But it is surprising because I did see in our YouTube channel Sunday, like midday was one of our most popular times, and I thought people had other things to do on Sunday. So I don't know. I would just keep looking. In YouTube, it's like a vertical bar graph thing, and it gets darker purple on the hot time. So then I'm like, well, that's when we'll put our hero content, the biggest ones or the darkest there. So if you're using a platform that has some analytics, use those to your advantage.
Okay. So, how many platforms do you think is a good number?
Well, if you're going to get the most for your mileage, double dip. So we use a scheduler that we can click, and you could even do this in your Meta suite, but like Facebook and Instagram can link, so you can set it up so if it schedules on Tuesday for one, it's going to post the same thing on Tuesday on the other one. I would suggest Facebook and Instagram, if you're going to do one, do both. because some people have their pet platform. So if you're only on Facebook, you're not going to get your Instagrammers and vice versa. So if you can create one graphic and schedule it and it goes on both, then you just doubled your mileage there. So why not?
Sure.
And then those are more static graphics. You can do reels, but then if you're going to focus on TikTok and YouTube, obviously that's all reels. So it's a different type of content. You can cross post those for reels, but static graphics don't live on YouTube or TikTok.
Okay. So for TikTok and YouTube, do you recommend daily? Is that necessary?
If you could, but that's, do you want to sleep at night?
Right.
I mean,
So, I mean, what would be a good goal number? Like how many days a week do you think?
for our full service video plan, we do 15 reels a month. So we post every other day.
Okay.
And that is probably price wise and what we can create. We could create reels for every single day or 5 times a day, but it would cost a lot of money. So we're trying to find that middle ground. So we do every other day.
I can barely get myself to do social media now, so I
Which
don't know.
You're exactly the type of person of why we launched the full service social media, because people were like, it's at the bottom of my list, the very last thing, and I don't like to do it, and I didn't do it. And so some people just hire us because they really want that presence and have it well branded and stuff, but it's not something they really have a desire to do. So
I think the problem with me is I just want to be talking to someone face to face. I want to be like with people. I feel like when I'm interacting on social media, I'm not actually with people.
yeah,
And maybe I'm weird, but to me, I just feel like I need that personal connection. So I do love social media in some ways because I feel like it helps us connect with people we would never meet otherwise, who are really positive and great, awesome people to know.
and
But anyway, that was a huge
presence for
digression.
your author brand there. While it's work, then the next time someone's looking for a psychological thriller, and if you have one, they might stumble on you. If you're not out there and not discoverable, they might not find you.
Right.
So
Yeah. No, I know it's important.
but I don't
that's my
blame you.
story.
I'm more of an in-person people person too.
So can I ask you a question about, so say I hire BookBrush to do my social media. Obviously, I know what you guys are going to post. So I'm knowledgeable, right, of at least what's going to be there. But then do I need to still get on and connect and make those relationships?
No. Okay, so I'll just run you through. So when you have us do the full service, we meet with you and learn your author brand and what you're and kind of plan out the first month or two. And then it can really be pretty hands off for you. We will handle the engagement as well. So we dedicate about an hour a week, which sprinkles in like 10 minutes a day to you can comment back, those kind of things. So that we don't handle your inbox, so that would still be for you. And if there's a super specific question about a character in your book or when the next thing's coming out, that would probably be left for you to handle too. But we really want to take it off your plate, and you shouldn't have to do a lot with us either. That would be a large time suck. Like if you had 4 hours a week to do this, you would just do it. So we want to be able to, so we create all the graphics, do the posting, and just rock and roll and meet with you maybe monthly for more. What are we doing next? What's coming up? That kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
So I know that you mentioned that you use Sendable. Are there any other recommendations of which social media scheduler might work the best? Or maybe there's different ones for where you're at?
For sure. There's a lot of different options. We like Sendable because you could do Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. The same piece of content might not go on all, like a static graphic isn't going to go on the other ones, but you can link all those platforms. For a free option, you could probably use the Meta Suite in your Facebook so that you're not paying for something. There's some other ones that we've used over time, like Planoly.com, Later.com. If you're thinking of just dabbling, I think one of those two has a free plan that's like 10 posts a month. That might be a start, like, okay, I'm going to rock those out, create the graphics, schedule those, and at least then I know my Monday and Friday is covered or whatever. And then if you get the whim to post other days during the week manually, fine, but at least you've got some steady flows there too. There's probably other ones I don't know about. You could Google and see scheduler, free versus paid. And then on the paid ones, I think there's different tiers. Some of them maybe you get 30 posts a month or unlimited. that kind of thing. The scheduling part is really helpful because you think through your captions, your hashtags, and you get it all in there, and then you can move on with your life for a little while. So you might like that.
That sounds lovely.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so I know, and we totally appreciate that you're not trying to be all salesy with BookBrush, but what are some?
No, I'll help you with anything you've
Well,
got.
yeah, no, but what are some helpful tools that like you provide for authors, after they decide to sign up with you all?
So what we've got a lot of do-it-yourself things. So you can create those graphics. You can do a lot of cover reveals. You can design fun swag things like you could make book plates and coasters and bookmarks, the images, and then you would send them to a printer. That's a lot of the do-it-yourself stuff. We also focus a lot on author education. So our paid plans have educational sessions, sometimes monthly. There's a Platinum Academy quarterly. We have a conference coming up. This will be our third BookmarkCon. It's the largest virtual marketing conference, maybe not on the planet, but it's pretty large. And so the last 2 years we sold tickets. This next year, so it's coming up in April of 25. It will be a free private conference for all of our paid members. So just another perk of your membership, you have 3 days worth of author education. It'll be a Friday half day, all day Saturday, all day Sunday. Come in your pajamas. It's on Zoom. Enjoying the things that you're available for, and it's all recorded so you can watch it later.
I feel like the paid plan would just be like paying for a conference
Right.
and then you just get the rest of it for free.
All the things, yeah, we try to have different people use different tools in BookBrush. You can design your own covers in there. That's super budget friendly if that's the right way for you to be able to publish. You could do your own covers. But the education has been really rewarding for us to help people. Like we have a session on author branding. So it's not selling BookBrush. It's things you can do in BookBrush, but also just talk about the importance of author branding. So we want to bring those things in. The online part of the conference, I think, is nice because there's tons of education without travel expense or who am I going to sit by, what am I going to wear, any of those things. Those are off the table. Just come join us and you're on Zoom, camera on or camera off.
Nice.
So we use, like, in the past I've used Canva. I'm not very good at it, but I still try. How is BookBrush different from that?
So we hear a lot of people saying to us, you're like Canva for authors. So Canva's great, but it's for everybody. So we have taken away maybe or don't offer some of the things that authors don't need, but we really beefed up the authory content. So for example, the 3D version of your book, 300 different ways to put your book in, like literally bring in your 2D cover and then magically turn it into all those 3D things. Lots of author things in there. So we want to take the good parts of Canva, but then more authory things in there and just make it really easy. Tons of templates, all author related, making the book marketing side a little less stressful than it would be, the graphics side anyway.
Yeah, what really caught my eye on there was what you just said, like entering your book cover in like landscape situations, like someone's on the subway or they're having a picnic lunch and they have their book, like things like that visual of seeing someone else reading your book as opposed to maybe a graphic that's not as interactive or personal. So that's really neat.
Yeah.
I love those. Whenever we have the thing that comes out that says, oh, new templates are added, I'm like, well, there goes that afternoon. I'm going to go in there and play around.
I know, right? Speaking of rabbit holes, but it's a good thing.
Yes,
it's a good thing
sure.
to learn all that. So Kathleen, what do you recommend for people like myself that write in different formats and genres? Should we have a different brand for each? What do you recommend and how do you manage that?
I think it depends how different your genres are. So if you have something really spicy and then an Amish romance, you probably want maybe different pen names because those are pretty different.
That was amazing. I would, yes.
Okay.
That was great. But that's a great example. Like, what do you do if you want to write both?
Yeah, and you certainly could write both, but I would probably have at least a slightly different pen name because your audience is going to be different and each side will be a little disappointed reading the other version. So
So you need to have like separate social medias for both of those things, and they need to be completely separate.
Yeah, and actually in our full service social media, we have a couple clients who we handle two brands for them. And one's like historical romance and one's something contemporary, more spicy. And then we have somebody else who it's a YA and then a children's. And the audience is different, the hashtags are different, and the people looking for those books are different. So you wouldn't have to hide it. I mean, you could have on your website writing spicy is this, writing sweet clean is this, and sometimes they're just a play on like Jacob Nikki Meyer and Nikki Jacobs Meyer. Like they're two different names, but something, or Meyer, Nikki Meyer, and then Jacob Nikki, or I don't know, Jacob Nicholas. I'm gonna make up all your names for you.
Well, so I guess so, but they should have different websites.
I would probably, there's not one rule.
Okay.
If they're pretty different, I would probably have two different websites because the audience is different.
Sure.
People looking for you are different.
Absolutely.
Psychological thrillers a lot different. And people do, now, if you're a huge name and you want to have some variety, people want to read whatever you wrote. So you can probably get away with all of that. So no right or wrong answer, but a lot of people I know have two different websites, and then I'm like, oh, are you Jessica today or are you Nikki today when I'm talking to you? So I know which one they're doing. And it's not that they're hiding it. You might see in their Amazon bio or in their bio also writing this is this. So if you like their writing style and you don't mind reading some sci-fi, but some people are like, okay, I don't want to read about pets in space and this other one, so we'll keep it separate. So no one secret sauce for that.
Like many things in publishing.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. So what about some current trends? Do you see any current trends happening right now in social media marketing that authors maybe should be aware of?
One of the fun things I'm seeing a lot are those trope graphics. So you'll see the book in the middle and then those adorably flirty arrows with the different things called out. Perhaps it's not adorably flirty if it's thriller, but it's like people want to see Friday Night Lights or Enemies to Lovers, Only One Bed, those meddling family ties. Those little things that you put can draw people in. Irish witches, whatever your thing is. And it doesn't all have to be romancy. It could be Cold War thriller. But I like the trope graphics, and then you could match a lot of your hashtags with that too. We have templates for the trope graphics in BookBrush. You can do them on free or paid, but you just put your book cover in. Do you guys know the ones I'm talking about? You see that?
Yeah, I do.
I love them. You don't even have to read the back if you don't want to. I mean, you don't.
Right. It's like, I love enemies to lovers or small town romance, whatever the thing is. And then that kind of makes it easy for people to visually see. So I don't even know if that's a total trend, but I like those kind of graphics. They're probably harder for other people to make for other people. You wrote the book. You know what the tropes are. You can put those things in. So it could be really fun.
It's fun. What are some common mistakes you see that authors make on social media, and how can we avoid them?
There's probably tons. Sure. One thing I see is the basic font. They didn't change the font. So they have a romance graphic and it's just in plain font. I'm like, change your font so it gives off the right vibe. So if you're going to take the time to make a graphic and post it on social media, give it every best chance with a romance genre font and things like that. So I think that's a bit of a mistake. And you know what? Try something. If something goes bananas, do more of it. If it's a flop, don't do that one again. Then you'll try it out.
Right. Okay, so what if an author has zero or just a lackluster social media presence? How would you advise them to make changes in that? And
social media is such a long game. We do a 6-month contract for folks because it's not going to go viral in a month. So steady is what I suggest for people. And then make sure if you have it out, you have your social media accounts, that periodically in your newsletter, you invite people to follow you. Make sure you updated those widgets or icons at the bottom of your author website. I went to somebody's the other day and the Facebook icon, link to facebook.com. Hello. Facebook doesn't need any more advertising. People already know it's there. Link it to your page on. So just those little things, make sure you're giving yourself all the discoverability as possible. Those kind of things, I guess. And it does take a while.
So slow and steady wins the race.
Keep posting.
Again, it's like most of the things in publishing, it's the long game. It's a marathon. And that's why communities like Wayward Writers and others, and having the support from people like you, Kathleen, at BookBrush, just make it easier and more fun, and there can be longevity in it because you don't feel alone and you're all running this race together. So this
I
was
love that about the author community. I feel
yes.
like anytime we have a webinar or a topic, like people are jumping in and helping. And I tell people all the time, no question's a dumb question. And then someone else will answer. I'm like, oh, this is wonderful. I didn't even know that tidbit. And so it's really a wonderful community to be a part of.
Yes. This has been fascinating, and I feel like you and your team
Absolutely.
are so accessible. And I know when I'm hopping off, I'm going to check out. I mean, you guys offer so many things, and I love that there's a lot of free options too, and people can get a taste of what you have to offer. So thank you so much for your time.
It was so great to meet you both. Well, I had met Heather
Yes.
before, but just nice to get to see you guys in person and have a chat and talk about all kinds of things.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Wayward Writers.
Let's connect. Find us at waywardwriters.com, X, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook.
See you next time. Conquer your path.